Tammy Govea, Democratic candidate for Lieutenant Governor, is our guest. Let's go on the record. A leader on public health issues, the state representative from Acton now finds herself in a competitive statewide race. Does she have the prescription for success? The candidate is here to make her case.
From WCVB Channel 5, the inside word from Washington to Beacon Hill. Today's newsmakers are going on the record.
Welcome to OTR. I'm Janet Wu, along with News Center 5 political reporter Sharmin Sacchetti. Thanks for joining us, Sharmin. Ed is off this week. State Representative Tammy Govea is with us. She has served the state's 14th Middlesex district since 2019. She'd like to be the next lieutenant governor. A resident of Acton, she's a graduate of Mount Holyoke College, and she holds a doctorate in public health from Boston University. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
So let's just dive right in. We sort of expected it, and it came. Abortion rights will automatically disappear in 13 other states and could easily extend to another dozen or more. Massachusetts, it doesn't fall into this category right now. But what more needs to be done to protect not only residents, but also providers and out-of-state women?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the news is clearly devastating for millions of us all across the country. We didn't anticipate that this was coming. You know, we're pretty lucky here in Massachusetts. We do have strong protections, abortion rights protections, reproductive justice protections for people who could become pregnant in our state. But there is more to do, as you point out. Definitely, you know, passing in the budget, making sure that providers are protected who are providing abortion care. We need to expand medication abortion, making sure that there is easy access to prescriptions that, you know, because we know that the impacts are going to be great here in Massachusetts, even though we have strong protections, because the demand will be greater for folks coming from out of state to access care that they can't get in their own state.
So the protections that recently were approved by the House and Senate are in the state budget. The governor has not yet signed it because the budget is still making its way through. But will, for example, abortion medication, are you going to try to protect the providers that may offer it to people from out of state?
Yeah, that needs to be part of that conversation and that part of that action that we're taking up, as well as expanding medication, access to medication abortion on college campuses as well. And there is a bill that is making its way through the legislature on that as well. It is my sincere hope that we do take that up quickly in the House and that they take it up in the Senate and we get that done this session.
You expect that will happen? The session ends soon, very soon.
It is my hope. We haven't gotten any strong indications from leadership yet what the actions will be. In the legislature the other day, we did talk about, you know, also the Supreme Court's decision on guns and really expanding gun rights, which is, of course, devastating. That was the wrong decision that the Supreme Court made. It will undoubtedly increase all of our risks to gun violence as a result of the decision they made.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about gun safety. So Congress this week, as you mentioned, you know, approved new gun restrictions and more money for school safety and mental health. But as you mentioned, the same time, this U.S. Supreme Court did rule it's unconstitutional to require permits to carry a concealed weapon. You're a public health expert, as Janet mentioned. And so what changes in Massachusetts law are needed to keep people here safe?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, we do know that gun violence still does happen here in Massachusetts, but we do have phenomenal gun safety legislation. We know that this is a model for other states, that other states are looking to us. The things that we can take up quickly are ghost guns and 3D printing of guns. There is pending legislation on that I do hope that we will take up in the coming weeks and get that passed here. Also expanding who is able to, like where you can't carry a concealed weapon, we can expand that. We already have restrictions on schools. We can expand that to public places and parks and polling places, those kinds of things. And then also looking at, you know, the Supreme Court decision on the gun decision does not impact our ability to be able to ban certain types of, you know, automatic weapons and that kind of thing.
Are you concerned Massachusetts is really going to see a lot of challenges here now to its current gun laws?
My understanding from the experts who have been really advocating for this, Representative David Linsky is one of the, you know, forerunners on this issue for decades, or for years, I should say. What he has said to me is that he does believe that these proposed legislation will withstand constitutional scrutiny.
So much has happened in Washington this week that affects us here in Massachusetts. For example, President Biden wants to suspend the federal gas tax, and he wants states to suspend their state tax as well. But our Senate President and House Speaker said very clearly that because it will benefit oil companies, no. not consumers. It would not help consumers. So who's right? Where do you stand on this? Do you think that the state gas tax should be suspended?
I don't think it should be suspended for exactly the reasons that Speaker Mariano and President Spilka have pointed out. You know, I have struggled financially myself, so I do understand the financial impacts of what inflation is really causing on so many of our hardworking families every single day. You know, I had to borrow money to pay a $600 oil bill back in 2009 in a really harsh winter. So I do understand those financial struggles, but eliminating the gas tax is not going to solve those problems because those savings will not be passed on to folks at the pump. There are other things that we ought to be taking up to alleviate the economic pressures on our hardworking families, expanding the earned income tax credit, taking a look at the dependent care tax credit, you know, coupling that with, you know, other tax credits as well to really get at the root cause of what's causing the strain on our families.
The things that you just mentioned are in Governor Baker's proposal to cut taxes, but he also wants to cut taxes for short-term investors, and there is also the death tax that he wants to adjust. Do you support those, the ones that affect people more on the high income level?
No, I think what we really need in our state is tax fairness. It is one of the reasons why I do support the Fair Share Amendment, or the millionaire's tax as it sometimes is called, to make sure that we have more tax equity in our state so that those who are at the real top, you know, are really paying their fair share so that we can have the revenue that we need and sustainable revenue that we need in our state to invest in our transportation system and invest in our education system as well.
All right, let's talk about the T. It's had quite a week last week. Governor Baker has invested $8 billion into the MBTA, but the FTA says it's dysfunctional. Last week, new orange and red line trains were taken out of service again after what the T called a battery failure. An escalator in Chinatown suddenly reversed direction. That did have passengers on board, but everybody's okay, thankfully. I want to ask you, do you have concrete solutions besides putting in a better manager in charge? Is there another solution?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first and foremost, I do believe that people in our state have the right to affordable, accessible, reliable, and safe public transportation. I do support fare-free transportation, including our RTAs as well as our T, to make that more accessible. That will help us get more people out of cars onto public transit. Will also increase the ridership, you know, when it's fare-free, and also it allows for greater reliability in the timing of when buses and the T shows up, because people can get on and off more quickly. We're already seeing the positive effects of some of the pilots that have been run. So I believe that we need to expand fare-free, you know, transit all across the state.
How do you fund that?
Again, that goes back to why I support the Fair Share Amendment and some of those other, you know, making some other adjustments to the tax structure so that it is more fair, so that we have those investments. Because ultimately, having a strong education system and a strong, reliable public transportation system will allow us to keep our strong economy on track. I fear that if we don't make these critical investments and if we don't make some of these moves to alleviating the traffic congestion by getting people onto public transit, that we will start to see more businesses say, I'm going to go somewhere else where people aren't strained.
Senate and House leadership last week criticized the governor pretty strongly for his leadership.
He's been in charge for 8 years.
Said since the winter of 2015, he wanted control. They gave it to him. They gave him everything he wanted.
Yeah.
So why hasn't it been fixed? And he says, look, this is decades of not investing in the system. So who's right here?
I think it is a management issue. I think we need to take a real close look at who is in charge of the public transportation system. But the reality is that we have a lot of mini systems that comprise our transportation system that have different funding streams and different constraints and requirements. We need a transportation czar that's really taking a look at the system as a whole, making sure that, you know, we have shuttle buses and ways to get people to public transportation, because parking is a huge issue at so many of our commuter lots. There are people who do want to take public transportation, but we don't make it easy. We don't make it simple. We don't make it affordable and reliable.